morning, everyone. Welcome to the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority Board of Directors meeting, October 18th, 2024. At this time, I'll ask the clerk for a roll call.
Vice Chair Beatty. Member Clark. Member Cridland.
Present.
Member Foster.
I'm present, but I'll be leaving right after the budget discussion.
Okay, thank you, Member Foster. Member Grant.
Present.
Member Metcalf.
Present.
Member O'Neill. Member Seaborn.
Present.
Member Taddison. Member Woodavine.
Oh, present. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I will call on Member Cridland to read the land acknowledgement, please.
Thank you, Chair. The Niagara Peninsula watershed is situated within the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, the Adirondack, and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, many of whom continue to live and work here today. This territory is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties 3, 4, and 381, and is within the land protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. Today, the watershed is home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples. At the NPCA, we strive to further our commitment to shared stewardship of natural resources and deep appreciation of Indigenous culture and history in the watershed in small ways every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Cridland. First item of business is the approval of the agenda, and seeing that item 6.1 is connected to item 9.1, an amendment to deal with the discussion item immediately following the presentation would be agreeable. I need a mover and a seconder for that, please. Moved by Vice Chair Beatty, second by Member Seaborn. Thank you. All in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried unanimously. A motion that the agenda of the full board meeting held on October 18th, 2024 be amended to address item 9.1 immediately after item 6.1. All in favor? I guess we just voted on that. I just got out of sequence. That is carried unanimously. Are there any declarations of conflict of interest? Seeing none, and we'll move over to item 3, approval of the minutes. Can I get a mover and seconder to approve the minutes from the September 20th meeting? Moved by Vice Chair Beatty, seconded by Member Grant. Thank you very much. All in favor? That is carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, Chair's update. On September 25th, 2024, over 100 high school students from 7 schools across both school boards gathered at Old Fort Erie for the first Niagara Great Lakes Student Conference. That event was aimed at connecting youth to Great Lakes issues and priorities, pardon me, and through hands-on learning. Students participated in a variety of interactive stations led by experts in topics such as fishes of the Great Lakes, invasive species, climate change impacts, species at risk, water quality, and Indigenous relations to water. I'd like to thank our staff for leading this initiative and the following partners for their efforts in bringing this event together: District School Board of Niagara, Niagara Catholic District School Board, Niagara Parks, the Invasive Species Center, Scienceational Snakes, Ontario Ministry of the Environment, Conservation and Parks, and that was some funding that was available through them, Ontario Ministry of Natural Resources, and Water Rangers. I'd like to thank all our volunteers, staff, and board members for their efforts in bringing together the 50th anniversary of the Balls Falls Thanksgiving Festival together. I attended the celebration dinner on October 10th, recognizing all those who have contributed to the building of the festival over the past 50 years. It was remarkable to see past and present staff, volunteers, and vendors come together and celebrate this milestone. I'd like to thank Mayor Easton from the town of Lincoln and Scott Foster, Chair of the Heritage Committee of the town of Lincoln, for hosting the Heritage Designation Ceremony at the Thanksgiving Festival opening on Friday, October 11th, and MPP Oosterhoff for presenting the NPCA with a certificate of recognition that commemorates the 50th anniversary. Yesterday, the NPCA in Niagara region partnered to plant 1,000 trees at Waterworks Park on Decoux Road. Though I was unable to attend, I have heard that the event was a rewarding endeavor for staff and volunteers who came out. I'd like to thank the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Foundation for supporting this collaboration initiative with our municipal partners. Today we have our newest representative member joining us as a representative from Niagara. I'd like to formally welcome Member Witteveen to the table. We look forward to working with you here. So, good morning, Albert, and nice to see you there. Before we move on to correspondence, I'd like to yield the floor to CAO Leilani Yates to introduce our newest member of the NPCA management's team.
Thank you, Chair Metcalf. We're excited to welcome to our management team Brendan Bugallen, who's our new manager of Natural Hazard Management and Resiliency. Brendan is an experienced senior engineer manager with extensive expertise in hydraulics, hydrology, and coastal engineering. With over 17 years of experience in the public sector, Brendan has successfully led complex projects, including hydropower station design and coastal protection initiatives. He holds a master's degree in civil coastal engineering from Queen's University and has a strong background in managing teams and budgets, notably as an asset manager for Parks Canada. He joins us from Environment Canada and Climate Change, where he provided technical support for the Flood Hazard Identification and Mapping Program. His ability to lead complex water resources engineering projects and build consensus among diverse stakeholders makes him an ideal addition to the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority. And we look forward to the valuable insights and expertise he brings to our riverine and coastal natural hazard programs. So welcome, Brendan, to the team.
Thank you, Leilani, and welcome, Brandon, as well. Thank you. Today we have one piece of correspondence before us today. Does anyone have any questions for staff regarding the correspondence from the town of Bradford, West Gwillimbury? Oh, Member Cridlin.
Thank you, Chair. Through you, there's this correspondence is very encouraging. It's come from Bradford, West Gwillimbury, and it's to encourage the government to expand their return policy of non-alcoholic beverages. And I'm just wondering, it raises the question about how are we doing maybe in our parks, and how is there a challenge for us? I would like to propose at the end of the discussion with the board's agreement is to perhaps put forward a recommendation of a motion. So perhaps staff can talk to it first, but I have a motion prepared for the board to consider.
Thank you, Member Cridlin. Adam, would you like to handle that one, or how are we doing at our, I guess, our campsites and things, recycling and different things and sorting? Oh.
Thank you for the question, and through you, Chair. over the past at least 5 years, we've put together a pretty robust recycling program. I think one thing we'll notice that not only at our campgrounds and our active parks we have this, but this has been an initiative at all of our passive parks as well over the last few years in creating the mixed recycling. So something we're continuing to do. Every year we grow and grow more of our mixed recycling at our passive parks, but we will also reach out and make sure if there's anything else we can do from this initiative, we'd like to be very supportive as well.
Great. Thanks, Adam. And follow-up, Member Cridlin.
Thank you. And through you, Chair, with that, I'm going to propose a motion for supporting this correspondence item. And I can read this out if the board would indulge me. Okay, thanks. So the motion is whereas the NPCA is committed to demonstrating leadership in addressing climate change and sustainable practices through its lands and operations, whereas NPCA Corporate Climate Change Action Plan strives to reduce the NPCA's climate impacts and carbon footprint, whereas the Ontario Deposit Return Program has successfully incentivized the recycling of alcoholic beverages containers, resulting in the removal of 204,000 tons of greenhouse gas emissions, whereas the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks has indicated consideration of adopting a deposit and return system for non-alcoholic beverages. Be it resolved that the correspondence dated September 20th, 2024 from the town of Bradford, West Gillambury, Ontario Deposit Return Program be received, and that the NPCA endorse the expansion of the Ontario Deposit Return Program to include non-alcoholic beverage containers, and further that the endorsement be circulated to the Ministry of Environment and Conservation and Parks and municipalities within the watershed for information. I might want to just amend that to add and ensure that the Niagara region is added to that distribution list, so it would be as amended. So that would be a motion for someone to.
So right now I'm looking for a mover and seconder for Member Cridlin's motion. So moved by Chair Foster, past Chair Foster, and seconded by Member Grant. Thank you. All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you. So today we're receiving a presentation on the 2025 draft budget and municipal levies. I will invite Director Gagnon to the podium to begin.
Melanie, I need something to control the slides with. Back up. Back up one, Gina, just for a moment. Thank you. Good morning, all and sundry, and welcome to the 2025 budget presentation.
Please, before you go, we're not seeing this on the screen.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
Okay, let's try this again. So the 2025 budget and municipal levies. So the 2025 zero-based operating budget for 2025 is coming in at 16.096 million, up from 2024's level of 13.3. Appendix 1 provides details on all segments of the budget. Appendix 2 represents the operating budgets and municipal levies in the programs and services format in order to comply with Conservation Authorities Act amendments. The 2025 budget book provides a comprehensive look at the budget for 2025, along with background, programs and services, statistics and metrics, and links to the 10-year strategic plan. Overall, the 2025 operating budget is increasing just over 20%, or $2.793 million, due primarily to fully funded programs, which are entirely offset by corresponding revenues. The residual balance is required to support COLA, grid step increases, inflation, and the need to address critical infrastructure projects in 2025. I'd like to note that the reliance on the municipal levy is continuing to decrease. So in 2025, it represents 48.7% of the total budget. 2024 was 52.9 and so on, at a high of 64.5 in 2020. The key drivers of, and actually, Gina, this slide is animated, so it should be populating.
Thank you, everyone, for your indulgence. We just had a little bit of technical difficulties, and we seem to have cleared that up. So, Director Gagnon, if you'd like to continue with your budget presentation, thank you.
Thank you, Chair Metcalf. Okay, so I'll reiterate at the bottom there, reliance on the municipal levy is continuing to decrease. In 2025, we're looking at 48.7% of the total, down from a high of 64.5% in 2020. At the bottom, the key drivers of the pressures within this budget year include the cost of living allowance and collective agreement, so that would be 2.25% on the salary envelope, as well as grid and step increases throughout the year. Inflation, of course, substantial growth in programs that are fully funded through grants and partnership funding, and critical infrastructure projects to meet service level needs, health and safety, and state of good repair priorities. Gina? Thank you. So this slide represents the revenue side of our budget. So the municipal funding represents the largest portion of total revenues and continues a pattern of reduced reliance, as noted in my last slide. Program and authority-generated revenues are reflecting a year-over-year increase of $640,000, or 11.6% over 2024. So the fully funded activity is our good news story for 2025. Having secured a new multi-year funding agreements, 2024 to 2028, for Trees for All, 2 billion trees, and the Climate Resilient Coastal Community Program. 2-year agreements within our CAN for seed collection initiatives as well. The Remedial Action Plan, hazard funding, and drinking source water protection agreements have been renewed with multi-year timeframes. Funded activity has increased from $460,000 in 2020 to $2.552 million in 2025. On the expense side, additional detail on expenses by division and/or department can be provided upon request. This is a maintenance budget only. Organizational growth is due to fully funded activity. Material variances include that of salaries and benefits, and this is due to 5 growth positions exclusively for fully funded activity. Includes pressures related to COLA from the OPSU collective agreement of 2.25%, grid step increases, and the residual impact of the compensation review project. The FTE count for 2025 is 74.9. The FTE count for 2024 was 70.5, so the incremental FTE of 4.5 are growth positions, again, exclusively required to support Trees for All, 2 billion trees, and the Climate Resilient Coastal Community Program. Professional fees and contractor services, the year-over-year variance is due exclusively to fully funded activity. I'd like to bring to your attention the fact that the land care is a Category 1 mandatory service, which can be fully funded or included rather in the municipal levy. However, total costs for 2025 of $1.148 million are only requiring levy support of 17%, so $200,000. The residual balance of $949,000 is sourced from authority-generated revenues, thereby reducing the levy ask of our municipal partners. Next, Gina. This outlines the levy apportionment. It's provided to conservation authorities from MNR using MPAC current value assessment data. The levy apportionment is applied to calculate the general levy and each municipality's portion of shared capital projects. So, for example, the HRIS system, IT equipment, sustainment, and the like. For 2025, Niagara's levy apportionment reduced marginally, offset by small increases in each of the other 2 municipal partners, in line with MCVA or modified current value assessment. Next. So this slide represents capital and special projects. 2025 capital and special projects budget represents past backlog and current critical priorities. Business cases and specific project details are available upon request, and Director Christie is here to answer questions and provide details. Special levy by municipality will be addressed on slide 9 and in appendices 1, 2, and 3. The land securement. In 2024, NPCA successfully acquired 5 properties, 55 hectares, into public ownership, leveraging $2.2 million of external funding. Land securement provisions, in line with 2024 levels, have been factored into the 2025 budget to continue to support the successful program and provide matching funding for grant opportunities. current land securement reserve balances. Hamilton at 1.2, estimated as of the end of this fiscal year. Niagara has been exhausted, and so has Haldimand in the acquisition of properties in 2024. Gina? NPCA's asset management initiative has identified critical infrastructure projects that must be addressed in 2025. The following projects, one in Hamilton and two in Niagara, are outlined on this slide. One is including the project in Hamilton is the Binbrook Conservation Area Comfort Station, 500,000, and in Niagara, restoration of heritage sites at the Balls Falls Conservation Area and the Center for Conservation Roof and Skylight, which is in desperate need of repair. Discussions have occurred with municipal finance staff with both Niagara region and the city of Hamilton to fund these projects through non-levy sources, given that they represent a significant financial impact on the special levy. Staff from NPCA and each municipal partner are currently preparing reports for council consideration to fund these critical projects through an allocation from the Municipal Capital Reserve, which with repayment terms as appropriate for each municipality. Dina? Additional details on unfunded budget priorities are provided in Appendix 1 at the back. Unfunded budget priorities are not included in the 2025 budget request. Staff will employ diverse strategies to address gaps outside the existing funding envelope, including seeking out external funding sources, liaison with external stakeholders and all level of governments, and seek out collaborative funding opportunities. We've been quite successful in years past, and when this comes forward to the board for approval, we are then able to be nimble and take advantage of grant funding opportunities in order to resolve some of these unfunded budget priorities. Gina? So this represents the levy summary for each of our partner municipalities. So you'll see the variance there year over year. We are proposing a 9.48% increase in the overall levy envelope for Niagara, 9.25% for Hamilton. That's not helpful. And 14.2% for Haldimand. I would suggest that looking at the absolute dollar variances may be a better metric, given that the 14% for Haldimand, for example, only represents $23,000. Ultimately, the general levy is coming in at 7.845%, or 7.845, the special levy for capital 1.9, and the land securement component of 443 for a total levy envelope of $10,219,319 for 2025. Gina? I thank you for your attention and certainly happy to answer any questions.
Great. Thank you, Lise. Are there any questions for Director Gagnon? I see a hand up. Member Foster? Oh, no, that's a cursor moving there. Sorry. Are there any questions? Vice Chair Beatty.
Let's open with, have you discussed this with our municipal partners?
Through you, Chair. Yes, we have. We've met in person with both Niagara several times, in fact, and with Hamilton finance staff.
And what was their initial reaction and what was their ask, if any?
Their initial reaction was quite positive. In fact, they recognize that both municipalities are struggling with the same operating pressures we are, namely this on the salary side. Our largest challenges this year for this budget was on the operating side, largely due to the salary component of it, and they're facing the same sorts of, and the state of good repair gap, of course. So they were encouraging.
Did they ask for anything?
other than assistance in helping us draft the council report for the alternative funding for those 3 projects.
So council hasn't been involved in these discussions?
That's correct. We did, Leilani presented to Niagara Region a budget workshop on NPCA and our priorities and programs and services and where the pressures were and whatnot, which this session is intended to provide an education for council members as to what it is that they're funding by supporting NPCA, and it was well received.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Beatty. Are there any more questions? I believe Member Foster has his hand up. Thank you. Member Foster, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks for the presentation, Lise. Unfortunately, at the Niagara Region Budget Education Workshop, you probably only had like about a third of council there. So, and as I mentioned at that particular meeting, don't be surprised that there's going to be pushback coming from a variety of sources, particularly from people that weren't at that meeting. So, so part of what we're saying with this is that we're saying that there's less reliance on the municipal levy. That's a pretty strong statement that you've put throughout this, and yet you know, we're looking at a significant increase coming back in through to Niagara. So I'm just curious, like, is that the correct tact that we should be taking with this? Like, you know, or maybe, you know, like what's your projections going into the future with this? Like I'm just concerned when this really gets in front of council. I don't think it's going to be pleasant. So, I'm just wondering if there's maybe some information that we can provide, sort of saying, okay, here's our expectations, where we see these revenues going and the longer term with it. So my question to you with that, Lise.
Thank you, Member Foster. Through you, Chair Metcalf. The reliance on the municipal levy continues to decrease, and that's a statistic that is important, I think, for council to hear. What it also means, though, is that the absolute dollar value doesn't necessarily, like, we continue to ask for an increase, but we are also supporting more and more of our operating budget from our own internal sources. So authority-generated revenues, so they are increasing at a greater rate than the ask to the municipal partners. So if we weren't able to be so successful in driving organizational revenues, the ask for the municipal levy would be higher. I think perhaps that's the message that we should focus on, as opposed to the absolute dollar increase.
Okay, through you, Mr. Chair. We'll see how that one goes. We have both Haldeman and Niagara with exhausted capital purchase areas, and I see we're actually asking for an increase for Niagara over the 250 that I think that we've been asked before. I can tell you, we if you remember back when we first asked for that, which is kind of relatively new to Niagara, or at least in the current process, there was a real fight with that one last go around. So I'm curious, you know, what are you guys looking at in and around mitigation? Because again, I don't see this surviving coming through council. So, you know, is there any areas that can be looked at all to look at mitigation? Is it just that that line that really can be looked at?
Through you, Chair. The land securement piece, the success of the program and what we've been able to do with that $250,000. Now, yes, we've exhausted the reserve, but we've also put 55 hectares back into public ownership. And there is rumors that there will be additional funding available. And if we can't leverage that funding with match dollars, that sort of puts us, that's why this ask is coming forward. It is increasing marginally by what the levy percent would, slightly under what the levy percent incremental is. Now, it is relatively new recently, but at one time, Niagara Region was contributing $500,000 a year for land securement, back in, I think that ended in 2020. But just so that there is a history there of Niagara Region supporting these initiatives, and it seems it's more critical now given that there's funding on the table. So there are certainly, I mean, if we have to go back to the drawing board, we would be looking at continuing to exacerbate the size of the state of good repair gap. Our operating pressures are such that there's no wiggle room in the operating envelope. It's largely salaries. And cost of living and, you know, inflation and that type of thing. So we looked at an alternative scenario whereby we phase one large project. But again, that exacerbates the state of good repair gap and deferral of one project in Binbrook. So, I mean, that would bring the ratios down about 6.5%. We can keep that in our back pockets at this point. But staff are reluctant to sort of entertain that because of the critical nature of the project that we're talking about.
Okay, thank you. And I am, and sorry that I might sound like I'm trying to be a little tough as we're looking at this, because I can tell you the faces of the people from Niagara that are on the NPCA board are supportive of where we're going. I'm just more concerned about the battle that we're about to see at Niagara Region on a variety of things. And we saw that last night, dealing with what I consider to be two relatively innocuous items going through. And there's already interesting times when it comes to budgets. So anyway, good work, and we'll see where this goes. Thanks.
Thank you, Member Foster. I see Member Seaborn has her hand up for a question. Member Seaborn, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I'm going to have to agree a lot with what our member Foster said. It's going to be a tight budget year for sure. I hate working with percentages. Percentages tell me nothing. I know there was one particular item that was coming up with a percentage of like 12%, and the overall was like 24 cents. So I realize this is probably based on assessments, so every community has a different assessment rate. But can you give me some kind of a dollar value as to maybe what the average Niagara resident is looking at for their levy share of the NPCA, if that's even possible? Thank you.
Through you, Chair Metcalf, certainly I've done those calculations, Member Seaborn. I just don't have them with me. I want to cautiously indicate that it's the incremental levy represents, and please understand I'm going from memory, and that's not always a good thing for me, but I believe the incremental levy is roughly about $3 per resident and $19 per household in Niagara. So that, I mean, the messaging we try to focus on with that is that it, you know, to maintain green space for Niagara residents costs each household $19 a year.
You know, that sounds a whole lot better than 9.48%. Thanks very much for that.
Thank you, Member Seaborn. Are there any more questions for Director Gagnon? Thanks, Lise.
Member Foster indicated that there would probably be some kind of response from Niagara. I can only echo that in that I would assume there's going to be a larger response from the city of Hamilton. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Beatty. Seeing no more questions, so in accordance with Ontario Regulation 402/22, a weighted vote will be conducted for the recommendation included in report number FA-50-24. I will look to the clerk to advise members of the eligible weighted votes for those present today. And I also just like to remember that we have Member O'Neill joining us right now, so just to add him on to the roster for today as well. So I'll turn it over to the clerk. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Chair Metcalf. So just before we proceed with the weighted vote, I will go through members in attendance, and if you could just verify your presence, I will then provide the weighted apportionment based on guidelines outlined in Ontario Regulation 402/22. And we will start with Vice Chair Beatty. All right, so Vice Chair Beatty, the weighted vote for Beatty today will be 21.17 as the sole member from City of Hamilton. Thank you. Member Cridland?
I'm here.
So for Niagara Region, that will be 15.38. Next we have Member Foster.
Yeah, I'm here.
So again, for Niagara Region, that'll be 15.38. Then Member Grant?
I'm here as well.
All right, so that is 15.38 as well. And then we have Member O'Neill.
Present.
Present, so for Haldimand County, that would be 0.96. Chair Metcalf?
Present.
Echoing Member O'Neill, that'll be 0.96. Member Seaborn?
Oh, present.
So Member Seaborn, that'll be 15.38. And then we have Member Witteveen.
Just, yes, so I'm present.
Thank you, Member Witteveen. So that will be a weighted vote of 15.38. And now we can look for a mover and a seconder.
Thank you, Clerk. Is there a move by Member Grant, seconded by Member Cridland? All in favor?
In favor, Mr. Chair.
So that's unanimous, carried. So I'll read the motion. That report number FA-50-24 regarding the 2025 draft budgets and municipal levies be received, that the 2025 draft budgets and municipal levies be approved by weighted levy vote for discussion with municipal staff in accordance with board approval budget assumptions, that the list of 2025 unfunded pressures be provided to partner municipalities for any future opportunities outside the 2025 budget through collaborative projects and external funding. And further, that the NPCA staff report the results of the discussions with the municipality staff to the 2025 Q2 Finance Committee and Board of Directors meetings. And now that the motion is on the floor, I will call on the clerk to conduct a recorded vote and calculate the results based on the weighted vote. So, clerk, turn it over.
Vice Chair Beatty? Member Cridland? Member Foster?
Yes.
Member Grant?
Yes.
Member O'Neill?
Yes.
Chair Metcalf?
Yes.
Member Seaborn?
Yes.
Member Witteveen?
Yes.
All right, I will follow up with some number crunching, but I do think that is carried unanimously.
Thank you, Clerk.
Thank you, Chair. I have to drop off now, but good work, guys.
Okay, thank you. So seeing there are no consent items, we do have a report number FA 52-24 regarding watershed-based resource management strategy. Next, I will invite CAO Secretary Treasurer Leilani Lee Yates to provide us with an overview of the draft watershed strategy brought forward today.
Thank you, Chair Metcalf. The report before you today provides an update on the development of our watershed-based resource management strategy that we're required to prepare under regulation of the Conservation Authorities Act. Staff from the NPCA sat on a Conservation Ontario working group to establish guidelines to assist conservation authorities with developing their strategies in accordance with the regulatory requirements and in a consistent manner while allowing flexibility to address watershed-specific issues and needs. And we've been working on this really for the last few years. It hasn't been the last few months. We've prepared key documents that have informed this strategy, which includes our 10-year strategic plan, updating our planning and permit policies and procedural manual, the preparation of our inventory of program services and aligning our budget with the inventory, enhancing our watershed restoration and stewardship program, our land securement strategy, and enhancing our integrated watershed monitoring and reporting program to look for opportunities to fill data gaps and partnerships for the future. We've also executed service agreements for Category 2 and 3 programs and services with our partnering municipalities, Niagara Region, City of Hamilton, and Haldimand County, and we're in discussions with our lower tier municipalities in Niagara for shared services such as the Trees for All program. So the purpose of the strategy is really to assist us in evolving and enhancing the delivery of our programs and services and improve efficiencies with their effectiveness in supporting the mandatory programs of the authority. The strategy will effectively guide us in managing our watershed resources sustainably. Key objectives include enhancing watershed health through integrated watershed management, promoting climate resilience, and incorporating stakeholder input. And the strategy supports our commitment to protecting the Peninsula's unique watershed and promoting community engagement. So under regulation, the watershed strategy must be completed by December 31st of this year and must include a consultation process with stakeholders and the public. And we're committed to ensuring that it's prepared transparently and made publicly available for comment and input. In preparing the strategy, we did establish an engagement plan with input from our Public Advisory Committee, and we used a range of tools and methods for engaging with our communities and partners. Feedback from the public and interested parties was elicited through our Get Involved public engagement portal. That included a discussion paper, frequently asked questions, related documents, and a short public survey that remains open until November 1st. We hosted a hybrid public information center on September 24th, which was live streamed and saved to our YouTube channel for individuals who could not attend. Although 24 people did register in advance, 6 people did attend in person and 5 attended online. And the report also speaks to some statistics on how many people have viewed the site, and the strategy includes a summary to date of what we've received in terms of input. So for today, we're seeking board approval to post the draft strategy and continue that consultation. We'll post it to our Get Involved portal for public comment. We'll share it with our partnering municipalities. As I noted, our survey stays open until November 1st, and then we intend to bring the final strategy to the board for December 13th. So still plenty of time for input from board members if you wish to reach out to us, and also please share widely with your community and your contacts. And before I give up the microphone, I do want to recognize our team members who've been working really hard to bring the strategy forward. We have Jeff Vercade, Senior Manager, Integrated Watershed Strategies, Tara Gady, our Program Coordinator, Watershed Strategies and Climate Research, Melanie Davis, our Manager, Office of the CAO and Board, Sophia Zavarella, Manager, Communications and Public Relations, and Erica Navarro, our Communications and Marketing Specialist. So it's really been a team effort to pull this together, and thank you, everyone, So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great, thanks. CAO Delegates, are there any questions for staff on this report? Seeing none, could I get a mover and seconder to receive the report FA 5224? Moved by Member O'Neill, seconded by Member Grant. All in favor? Okay, so I'll read the motion. That report number FA 52-24 regarding watershed-based resource management strategy be received, and that staff be authorized to post the draft watershed strategy for public comment for 3 weeks, and that the draft watershed strategy be circulated to the NPCA partner municipalities, and further that the watershed strategy be brought forward for the board approval on or before December 13th, 2024. Thank you. Okay. I don't need to, we've already voted on it. Okay. So moving on to report FA 51-24 regarding draft conservation area strategy. In similar fashion, we have a draft conservation area strategy for consideration today. I will invite Manager of Land Planning, Eric Balden, to provide a brief overview of the report strategy and next steps. Morning, Eric. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you. And through you, Chair, I'll just happily present the draft CA strategy to the board for consideration. Similar to the watershed strategy, the development, the work plan, the design, and the effort gone into this particular strategy is much the same. What you're seeing in front of you is a report that's taken a fair amount of effort, and we've had a very extensive team working on it. This particular strategy is, as we've seen, one of numerous transition requirements coming out of CA Act changes, and specifically from Reg 686/21, in particular for lands related activities, CA management. There's 2 particular deliverables. One is a land inventory, which we will deliver by the end of this year. That land inventory is mostly just documenting the ownership details or management details of all of our properties, just to ensure that we have a sound understanding of what we own and what that entails. All of that work is progressing in the background, and we fully expect to have that complete by the end of this year as well. This particular strategy, likely of more interest to members of the board as well as the public, because it affects our conservation areas, and is designed to guide the overall management of our conservation area system. So much like, again, the resource management strategy that Leilani was just speaking about, there was a group of staff from a number of CAs throughout Ontario that worked together, tried to develop a common approach, or as common as possible approach to this particular strategy, and a number of kind of content components that you'll see in this strategy will be very similar to a number of other strategies produced by other conservation authorities. The regulation itself specified a number of pieces that are required to be in the strategy, things such as identifying programs and services of different categories that are present at our conservation areas, identifying goals and objectives for our conservation area system, classifying each of our conservation areas, and also looking at how our conservation area system assists or augments natural heritage features within the watershed. As you will see, as you have more time to review the draft strategy, you'll see that our strategy meets all of those requirements. And specifically some of the details, goals and objectives, they most definitely align with existing work at NPCA, most notably our NPCA strategic plan. Sorry, I just lost my train of thought there. They are in line with the strategic plan, and they're based in sound planning. So we've developed those goals and objectives with a bit of a process to dream big, but also being very practical, especially in light of budget presentation and things like that, being very practical with what we're going to strive for going forward. From an engagement perspective, we did post a discussion paper online, much like the resource-based watershed strategy. General response to an online survey provided through our Get Involved portal has been very positive. Over 50 responses to date for the CA strategy. And in general, for all of our questions, the response rate has been in the 90% range or well into the 90% positive range. Another aspect of the strategy is identifying potential connections with other publicly owned lands, whether that be municipal lands, provincial or federal lands. And that particular piece is presented some good data that should provide us with lots of opportunity to work with our partners and expand connections within the watershed. So again, next steps include posting the strategy for 3 weeks, presenting to the board at the December board meeting, and certainly posting it on our website as required by year end. And then more indirect follow-ups or action items will be working on an action plan to come out of this draft CA strategy. It'll inform future work plans to provide some of those specific details in terms of actions that we want to take to achieve this particular strategy, and also from our management plans, which we are due to complete for each conservation area that we own. And with that, I'll open up for any questions.
Great, thanks, Eric. Are there any questions for, I see one there. Member Seaborn.
I just want to let you know that we didn't see any of that from the Zoom participants. So it was informational being able to hear, but we really need you guys to check and make sure that we're actually seeing what it is you're seeing while you're in the building.
Thank you, Member Seaborn. I don't think there was any type of presentation. It's all just listed in the report, pardon me, of FA 5124. So it wasn't like a presentation like our budget presentation. It's just information only type presentation.
My apologies then. I thought there was a screen that was changing from my perspective. Thank you.
Oh, there could have been. There was different things flashing up here as well, but yeah, I can assure there was no presentation. So I need, is there any other questions? Member Cridlin.
Thank you, through you, Chair. First of all, thank you for this, Eric. And just one very simple question. We have a land acquisition strategy that's it's ongoing. It predates this. So could you just explain where that fits in relative to this regulatory requirement that we're proceeding with? Thank you. And again, a great report.
Through the chair, the hierarchy of plans and strategies that we have within the authority and how this fits in for the CA strategy. Like we mentioned, we have the corporate strategic plan, and then nested underneath that is going to be our CA strategy. And a huge informing piece for the CA strategy, as you'll see, in particular, one of the goals and objectives of the CA strategy is protection and management, and a big portion of that is land securement moving forward. There will be, or there are some hints in the CA strategy as to how we approach land acquisition, but the CA strategy would be a higher level than the land securement strategy. And through the chair, if I could just recognize one more staff. We've had a very large group working on all of these strategies. We've been working together. So I will echo every name that Leilani had talked about. And I will mention one more with Carrie Royer coming over to the team. She's been an instrumental part of helping create this particular CA strategy.
Great. Are there any more questions for Eric? Member Seaborn, I see your hand still up. Is that another question or? Oh. Okay, so seeing no more questions, thanks, Eric, great presentation, thank you. Can I get a mover and seconder for the following motion? Moved by Vice Chair Beatty, second by Member Quinlan. All in favor? That's carried unanimous. So I'll read that motion. That report FA 51-24 regarding draft conservation area strategy be received, and that staff be authorized to post the draft conservation area strategy for public comment for 3 weeks, and that the draft conservation area strategy be circulated to the NPCA partner municipalities, and further that the conservation area strategy be brought forward to a board for board approval on or before December 13th, 2024. Thank you. So moving on to committee reports, I see that we have 2 committee reports for receipt today. Can I get a mover and seconder to receive the Finance Committee and the Public Advisory Committee minutes? Moved by Member Seaborn, second by Member Grant. All in favor? That's carried unanimously. Motion that the Finance Committee minutes dated September 24th, 2024, and Public Advisory Committee minutes dated September 17th, 2024 be received. So we just voted on that. All in favor? Good. Carried. Motions. Are there any motions brought forward to the board's consideration? Seeing none, I'll just move on. Does anyone have any notice of motion they'd like to present? Seeing none, we're going to move into discussing the under new business. Okay. So new business, verbal update from the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Foundation, and I'll ask Member Quinlan for an update, overview of the foundation. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, through you. We had another small first for the foundation, and we were able to promote the foundation at the recent 50th Balls Falls Festival. So we were very excited about that. It was very energizing for those of us that were out there sharing the information about the foundation. So thank you for staff for the support for that as well. It was quite a success for the foundation. We were able to raise over $2,000, and of course there was a 50-50 draw, and a resident in Welland was the grand winner. So the next thing for the calendar is to hold the date for Thursday, December 19th. We will be having another fundraiser event, and there'll be more details ahead. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Member Quinlan, for the update. Are there anything under new business that you would anyone like to bring up at this point? Seeing none, so we have another addendum to the agenda, and that's under 13.2, the 2025 meeting schedule discussion. It's out there, so is there any issues or problems with that? Okay, so Member Quinlan.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Again, I understand this is for our discussion and to, raise any concerns we might have or ideas. I just noticed there wasn't anything noted for a potential AGM date, and maybe on the final one, that will be something we can have noted or plan for when we get to that. So other than that, the calendar looked okay to me. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Member Quinlan. Are there any other questions for staff? We can direct that to, I'll just turn it over to our clerk, Melanie, and maybe give us some updates and information on it.
Sure. Thank you, Chair. So through the Chair, it's around the time of year that most municipalities have started approving their schedules for the upcoming year. So we have had the opportunity to take a look at Haldimand County and Niagara Region's schedule for 2025. I think we're just waiting on Hamilton's to be released so we can ensure that there's no consistent conflicts that would create difficulties for our members. But CAO Lee Yates and I thought it would be a suitable opportunity to kind of open up the floor for some discussion about meeting times and scheduling, just to make sure that what we're doing right now continues to work for members. We recently had a move to the new office, and our meetings have kind of consistently become a bit more efficient over the past year. So recognizing that, you don't need to set aside perhaps an entire morning for the day. It might be worth considering whether the time of day or the day itself still works for members around the table. A couple specific things we've discussed that we'd like to flag. So NPCA's meetings are regularly held on the third Friday of every month. We often find that this comes into conflict with some long weekends or holidays that either can create some difficulties with quorum or just availability to get things done. And most recently, we did encounter, as we all know, the Balls Falls Thanksgiving Festival wrapped up, which is often a all staff on deck endeavor for a few weeks prior to the board meeting. So a thought that we had was exploring the movement of the meeting from the third Friday of the month to the fourth or the last Friday of the month. And I have not seen anything that directly conflicts with that, but I'd like to put it to board members to consider to make sure that we're not creating any further conflicts moving forward that way.
Thank you, Melanie. Yes, there have been, times in the past where it's difficult to get quorum on long weekends of the Friday, but I understand that Friday works for our members, mostly from Hamilton and Niagara, that are on other boards and other meetings scheduled. I don't see an issue with the date. I don't see an issue with it being moving some of the meetings to, as long as it is within our procedural bylaws, I guess, would be appropriate. And time of the morning, I know sometimes we're all competing to get here with the working public as well. So again, open for discussion or open for ideas, absolutely. If we want to push it back to 9:30 again, like we did at one time. I see that member Beatty has his hand up, so I'll turn it over to member Beatty.
Yes, I find the QEW is now the variable. And if I could ask that it be moved to 9:30, I would appreciate it. And I saw the activity level of the staff during the Thanksgiving festival, so are you suggesting we move it then to, for 2025, move it to October 24th? Then I would suggest we move it, because that wrap-up week, you were very busy. Thank you for your busyness.
Thanks, Member Beatty. Absolutely. Like I say, we can visit everything all at once. So anything that conflicts with a long weekend, the time of day, especially the Balls Falls Thanksgiving Festival. Again, I saw the army of staff and volunteers, and it is a pretty hectic week to organize it and then turn around and prepare notes and information for our meeting as well. So, Member Seaborn, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, I really do have it up this time. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to echo the time. Yeah, the highway does make a difference. And yes, for some of us, the distance is now doubled. It was nice when it was at Balls Falls. I could be there in 15 minutes. Not that it's, the other side of the planet right now. But my problem is when council meetings go extremely late. So you're always the third Friday and council is the third Thursday. We've had some meetings that have gone till midnight, which means getting home at 1, which means getting up. And I'm not trying to wuss out here, but sometimes that extra half hour would actually be the difference between me sitting here and me sitting there. So I'm just going to suggest, I like the 9:30 idea a little bit better. Thank you.
Thanks, Member Seymour, and I would echo that sentiment as well. It's a little bit farther for me to travel, but yeah, 9:30 would work. I know some of our meetings in the past would go a little longer, but with a smaller board, I think we become a little more efficient, and I'm getting some nods of the head around the table. It also gives staff an opportunity to set up and they get here and run around as well, trying to get things set up for 9 o'clock. So that extra half hour would be most suitable. And I would be in favor of that. So at this time, like I said, it's just up for discussion and nothing to solidify yet. So, but just a general consensus going around the seeing a lot of nodding heads. So, thank you.
Mr. Chair, it's Council Whitney. I don't have my video on, but I'm in favor of a 9:30 start. I think it sounds very practical for staff and members. We do the same thing actually for the Niagara Escarpment Commission. Our meetings start at 9:30 for pretty much the same reasons that staff have a chance to get in, get settled down, kind of check the audio visual prior to our meeting. And with the meeting schedule, I reviewed the schedule and I'm good with it. I do chair an agricultural policy action committee, which Councilor Seaborn is on also. It's a quarterly meeting, usually on the fourth Friday of the month. So I would say, so that I could help Councilor Seaborn attend the meeting as well as myself chairing, that the schedule that's presented, I think is very workable. So those are my comments, Mr. Chair.
Great. Thank you, Member Whitavine. Again, that's a pretty much definite yes for the 9:30 starts. So, good. All right. And Member Grant's okay with that as well. So basically, just missing 2 members to vote. But again, up for discussion. We'll have, this solidified in the future and moving forward. Great. So just continuing on, we have no items to review in closed session today. So I'll look for a motion to adjourn. Could I have a mover for adjournment? Oh, Member Cridlin, second by Member Grant. All in favor of this meeting being adjourned? And that is carried unanimously. Adjourned.